Greetings and welcome to the least popular edition yet of STL Soccer Talk here at stltoday.com and St. Louis Post-Dispatch. This is Beth O'Malley. I'm Tom Timmermann, and this is the, in many ways, inevitable but least wanted, least desirable video we'll shoot this year as the city season has come to an end. I think, though, I'm saying this as though it's a surprise to people. Oh my God, they lost.
What? Spoiler alert.
Yes, but they have lost. And city's amazing season, and I'm saying this on the podcast, and really, literally incredible. I mean,
Yes.
It meets the definition of the word.
Yeah.
Season not to be believed.
We debated, I think, a couple of podcasts ago about whether or not losses in the postseason, especially in the first round, would dampen the rest of the season. And having lived through it, I think the answer is no.
I think it dampens it for some people.
Yes.
I think there were people that whether
For
they
sure.
were late on the bandwagon or are looking to dislike soccer or whatever, I would say, wow, this the team obviously not as good as their regular season results said, because they went out in 2 games in the playoffs.
If you only watched the last 4 games because you heard they were in first place, I can understand why you might come to that conclusion. But as you pointed out in the podcast, you have to look at the rest of the season, the games that got them into first place, to see how good this team really is.
The first 32 games of the season were, and there were ups and downs, but they were a team worthy of being in first place. I mean, it was helped. The LAFC's schedule was overwhelming and dragged them down. But this was a team that was in the mix the whole way, and they were consistent. I mean, MLS there are a lot of teams that had a lot more ups and downs than City SC did. And it is a team that is a young team. It is a team that is way smarter about the ins and outs of the league than they were in February when this all began. And so it's a team that, probably did better than its results, than its play should have indicated, but it's a team that should be better next year because, in some sports you look at a guy, on the Blues, Braden Shen. Look, Braden Shen isn't going to be any better this year than he was last year. He's at a point in his career where he's at a good level, but that's where he is. But almost everybody on City, there is reason to say that guy will be a better player next season than he was this season.
And one of the reasons why you can say that is because players started out at one level and you were able to watch them week by week grow and develop their game and fit into the system in better or different ways. And Bradley Carnell makes this point that the team saw so much growth. They're only going to continue to see that.
And sometimes there are things that coaches say after games, but I think that is seriously the case with City this year, that they learned a lot. And you had players like Roman Berkey and Edu Leuven and Jabulo Blum who had played in other leagues around the world, but Major League Soccer is a different animal, and it just so much, it's just a different experience. The country is so much bigger. The season is so much longer. The wear and tear that it takes is so much harder. And I think they'll be better prepared for that, going into next season. I think it would have been great for them, for how they were looked at, if they'd gotten to the second round of the playoffs. I think if they'd lost after that, if they'd lost to either Houston or Salt Lake in the next round, you say, okay, they got out of the first round. But when you're the number 1 and you lose to the number 8 in the first round, even though Kansas City, one of the best number 8s probably we've seen in MLS playoffs, that's, it was more like a 1 versus 4 matchup.
Kansas City definitely ended their season on a much higher note, a much better streak of games than City did. And it does feel a little bit more salt on the wound that it was Kansas City in that first round that eliminated City, because the rivalry had been set up so well, it had developed so nicely. City had the edge on it, and now City's not going to have that edge again until they again play Kansas in the postseason, because every game from now on, it's going to be like, yeah, but we beat you in the postseason. So
yeah, and it's not just like tiny grained, Morton iodized salt. This is like big, thick sea salt
really
or something.
rubbing it in there.
That really have bigger chunks of salt in the wounds when you go out.
I don't think the
to Kansas
size of
City.
the salt matters.
You don't think so?
I don't think we're getting on a tangent. We need to focus.
No, I think we should stay on this tangent of discussing salt. In any case, the off season now begins. It's if you want to make a positive out of this, and this is they'll have a longer off season because the MLS off season is painfully short. The season is long, the off season is short. They'll be practicing again in 2 months. They'll be on the field getting ready for CONCACAF Champions Cup games in probably the second week of February. So it won't be a long wait until City SC is back on the team, back on the field.
Back on the field, yeah.
Back on the field. The team will be back on the field with no salt involved. Beth, we should thank the viewers. And thank you to all of you who have watched these. It certainly can't be easy watching me move my hands all over the table or whatever else, or me wearing a hat. I don't know, any of those things. But thank you. If you've made it this far, thank you very much.
We appreciate it. And please subscribe to both the paper and the podcast, because that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, and listen to the podcast. It's much longer, but we think informative, entertaining, and I think will put you in the proper mood for the off season.
Yes.
We'll be back. This is not the last one by any means. During the off season, there will be things that happening, and we will return to this room.
Tom will be covering it, so
and I'll
make
be
sure
writing
you read.
about it. So either follow me on Twitter at Tom Tim and online at the Post Dispatch, stltoday.com. But until next week, so it's not like, I don't even know why I'm saying goodbye, but I think because the season's over.
The season's over.
Thank you so much. It has meant so much. I've run into you people on the streets from time to time, and the support has been wonderful and impressive, and it's it's a big thing going on here, and we're happy to have been part of it. Beth, so until our next postseason one for Allie behind the camera, I'm Tom. Until next time, be seeing you.